Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that's gonna sound crazy at first, but stay with me. Men don't always miss you when you're gone. They start missing you when it finally hits them what they lost, and that don't always happen right away. A man can break up with you, walk away, even act like he's unbothered. But trust me, there comes a moment when something clicks and boom, it hits him. Not when you cry, not when you call, not even when you go silent. He starts missing you more when life reminds him who you were. Let me break down exactly when men start feeling it. This ain't guesswork. This is the real stuff you need to hear, so stick with me. Men start missing you more when they realize that nobody else brings peace like you did. And trust me, that realization doesn't always come right away. Sometimes it hits them days later, sometimes months, sometimes even after they've already moved on to someone else. But it hits because peace, real peace, is rare. It's not loud. It doesn't show up in drama. It doesn't scream, "Look at me." It's quiet, it's steady, and it's unforgettable once it's gone. You see, when you're with a man and you're the one who brings calm into his chaos, he might not even notice it at first. He might not appreciate the way you kept things balanced, the way you supported him when he was stressed, the way you gave him space when he needed it but still stood by him, the way your voice calmed him down. Your energy kept him grounded. But back then, he was too distracted, too caught up in the moment, or maybe too immature to realize how rare that kind of presence is. A peaceful woman isn't just quiet. She's comfort, she's safety. She's the person he calls when things go wrong. She's the woman who doesn't add to the pressure. She relieves it. And when a man loses that kind of woman, when he walks away or messes it up, life eventually reminds him of what he had. Because no matter where he goes or who he talks to next, peace like that doesn't come around every day. See, men live in a world that's full of noise, expectations, stress, pressure to be strong all the time. So when he finally realizes that you were the one place where he could just be himself, where he didn't have to perform, where he felt understood without having to explain, that's when it starts to hit him. And by the time he sees it clearly, you're already gone, already pulled back, already moved on to protect your own peace. And that silence, that absence, that's what does it. Because now he's around different energy. Maybe he thought he'd find something more exciting. Maybe he thought the grass was greener. But what he ends up with is tension, drama, people who want him for what he has, not for who he is. He realizes that he's getting talked at, not talked to. That the calm he once had has been replaced by comparison, complaints, or just emptiness. That's when he starts thinking about you, not because he's lonely, not because you were perfect, but because you were peaceful, because your love was a safe space, not a battlefield. Because you listened, you gave him patience. You gave him softness in a world that always told him to be hard. And no matter what he tries to replace it with, new people, old habits, distractions, that kind of peace stays on his mind. It lingers. It shows up in his quiet moments, in the middle of the night when he can't sleep, in the middle of his day when he scrolls through old pictures, when a song plays, when he passes your favorite place. That's when it creeps in. That's when he feels it. He remembers the way you supported him when you had your own stuff going on, the way you smiled when he walked through the door, the way you gave him calm without making him earn it. That kind of love doesn't fade easily. And for a man who's finally ready to receive it, the memory of it can hit like a wave. So yes, men start missing you more when they realize no one else brings peace like you did. And by then, you're no longer waiting for him to figure it out. You're not holding your breath. You're not hoping for a message or watching his stories. You're living, you're healing, you're protecting your peace now, the same peace you used to give away for free. And maybe he'll reach out, maybe he won't. But either way, you'll know this much: he misses you. Not just because you were good to him, but because you made life easier, lighter, calmer. And in a world full of chaos, peace like that doesn't get forgotten. It gets missed hard. Men start missing you more when you stop chasing and start glowing. It's the truth. As long as you're chasing, calling, checking in, holding everything together, he feels no urgency, no pressure, no fear of loss. Why? Because your energy is still wrapped around him. He knows you'll reply. He knows you'll wait. He knows you'll keep showing up even when he gives you less. But the moment you flip the script, the moment you stop reaching, stop proving, and start focusing on yourself, that's when it hits him. Men notice when your energy shifts. Even the ones who act like they don't, they feel it. It's not about silence. It's about how your presence no longer revolves around them, how your texts stop coming first, how you stop explaining yourself, stop defending your worth, stop trying to fix what he keeps breaking. It's when you decide, I've done enough, and start showing up for yourself the way you were showing up for him. That's when his mind starts spinning. You start glowing. And I don't just mean on the outside. Sure, you might start taking care of yourself more. New hair, new gym routine, maybe a new wardrobe. But the real glow up isn't physical, it's emotional. It's the confidence that comes from no longer chasing someone who made you feel like you weren't enough. It's the peace in your spirit when you finally stop begging for love and start giving that love to yourself. It's the shift in your energy when you go from, I hope he sees my value, to I know my value, whether he sees it or not. That's powerful. And he feels it, even from a distance. He might not say anything right away. He might still pretend like he's unbothered. But don't get it twisted. The moment you stop chasing, he starts watching. Watching your posts, watching your moves, watching the glow that used to be wrapped around him now shining in your own lane. And that bothers him, not because you've moved on, but because now he no longer feels in control of your attention. See, some men get too comfortable knowing you'll always be there. That's why they don't rush. That's why they don't change, because they think they've got time. But when a woman starts glowing and she's not doing it for him, he feels that loss. And it stings differently when he realizes you're not glowing to get his attention. You're glowing because you found peace without him. That's the moment he starts missing you. Not when you begged him to change, not when you cried, explained, or overextended. He misses you when you stop trying, when you stop pushing, when you stop needing anything from him. Because now, the one who always showed up for him, emotionally, mentally, physically, is now focused on herself. That glow, it's your healing. And that healing says to him, I don't need you to be whole anymore. He might try to reappear. He might reach out. He might throw a little message your way just to test the waters. I've been thinking about you. I miss our talks. Or, you've been on my mind, but pay attention. Is he saying that because he truly sees your worth now? Or is he just uncomfortable with the fact that you've taken your light somewhere else? Because here's what he's really reacting to: the shift. That beautiful, unbothered energy that comes from knowing you've got yourself now. The woman who once chased is now choosing. The woman who once begged is now building. And nothing scares an immature man more than a woman who finally realizes she doesn't need to wait for him to grow up. So yes, men start missing you more when you stop chasing and start glowing. Not because you played a game, not because you disappeared to make a point, but because you grew. Because you evolved, because you chose peace over chaos and self-worth over confusion. That glow, that's not revenge, that's freedom. And that freedom is exactly what he'll wish he appreciated when he had the chance. Let him miss you. Let him watch you shine from a distance. And while he's trying to figure out what happened, you'll be busy living a life that no longer revolves around someone who made you feel like you had to earn love that should have been given freely. That's when the real glow up begins. And that's when the missing really starts. Men start missing you more when they meet other women who don't match your vibe. They might not realize it right away. In fact, at first, some men think they're upgrading. They think just because someone looks good or brings some temporary excitement, it's going to be better than what they had with you. But life has a funny way of showing people what's real and what's just surface. Because it's not until a man starts engaging with other women that he starts to realize how rare your energy truly was. See, in the moment, he might have thought he was bored, or that you were too much, or that he needed space. Maybe he even told you that you were overthinking or doing too much. But now he's sitting across from someone new, and she's not you. She doesn't understand him the way you did. She doesn't listen without judgment. She doesn't hype him up when he's down or support his dreams when he's feeling lost. She's not soft in the right moments and strong in the ones that matter. She looks the part, maybe, but she doesn't carry the same heart. And now he's comparing. Even if he doesn't admit it out loud, he notices how the conversations don't flow the same, how he doesn't feel as safe emotionally, how he can't talk about certain things because the vibe's not there. What used to feel so natural with you now feels like work, forced, shallow. And that's when it hits him. He didn't just lose a woman, he lost a connection, something deeper than looks or likes, something real. You weren't just someone who filled time. You were the one who filled the gaps, the emotional gaps, the spiritual gaps, the mental gaps that most people overlook. You understood his moods. You knew when to speak and when to let him breathe. You were the kind of woman who gave without needing to be asked, who felt his energy without him saying a word. That's not common. That's not something you can swipe and find again the next day. But sometimes a man doesn't know what he has until he tries to replace it. And when he does, that's when the missing begins. Because now he sees that not everyone brings what you brought. Not everyone moves with the same depth, care, or patience. He starts to realize that your vibe wasn't something he could duplicate. It was something he was lucky to experience. And now that it's gone, the difference becomes painfully clear. He might even try to convince himself that the new woman is better. He might post more, laugh louder, try harder to prove he's fine. But deep down, he knows something's missing. He knows he had a certain peace with you, a comfort, a closeness. He might have been too distracted to appreciate it back then, but now he feels it. And no matter how many new faces come around, none of them seem to replace what he lost. That's because your vibe wasn't just about what you did. It was about who you were. It was your patience, your loyalty, your ability to love deeply and stand tall. Your energy had a presence. And now that he's sitting across from someone who just doesn't feel the same, he realizes that presence is irreplaceable. So yes, he will miss you, not when you leave, but when he starts searching for you in someone else and comes up empty. When he realizes that every smile isn't genuine, every conversation isn't meaningful, and every connection doesn't have the same soul, that's when your memory becomes more than a thought. It becomes a feeling he can't recreate. And by the time he realizes it, you're already moving on. You're healing, growing, attracting people who match your vibe. Because you're not someone who waits to be appreciated. You're someone who chooses to walk away with grace when you're no longer valued. You don't compete. You don't chase. You just elevate. And that's why your vibe will always be missed. Because it wasn't just love you offered. It was peace, growth, and realness. So let him try to replace you. Let him meet different versions of almost and not quite, because eventually he'll realize that you weren't just another woman, you were the one his spirit was at ease with. And that's not something you forget. That's something you feel over and over long after it's gone. Men start missing you more when you no longer react. When your energy goes from explaining, defending, or arguing to silence and calm, that shift is loud, louder than any words ever could be. There's something powerful that happens when you stop reacting to the things that used to shake you, when you stop answering late night texts, when you don't jump to respond to dry messages, when you don't argue when he pulls away, when you stop explaining what he already knows. That's when a man starts feeling the absence of your emotional presence. And that absence speaks louder than anything you ever said while you were still trying. See, as long as you're reacting, he knows he still affects you. Whether you're crying, getting angry, or sending long paragraphs to him, it means your heart is still involved. He still feels in control. He still thinks he has space in your mind and your emotions. But when you don't give him the reaction he's used to, that silence, that stillness, that I'm not going to fight for someone who won't fight for me energy, that's when it hits him. He doesn't feel your love through your arguments anymore. He doesn't hear your concern in your voice. He no longer gets to see how hard you try to make it work. And that's where the difference shows up. Because now he's the one left with the silence. He's the one wondering what you're thinking, what you're feeling. And if you're finally done for real this time, that lack of reaction sends a very clear message. I've accepted what is. It says, I'm not going to try to change you. I'm not going to keep begging you to understand me. I'm not going to pour out my heart into a space that isn't safe anymore. And for a man who once had access to your emotions, that moment when the door quietly closes, it stings. Not all at once, but over time. And the more you stay calm, the louder that silence becomes for him. He'll replay old conversations, wondering what went wrong. He'll notice you're no longer the first to reach out. He'll pick up his phone, tempted to message you just to see if he can pull a reaction out of you again. Because he's not used to this version of you, the one who no longer argues, begs, or tries to fix the things. And the truth is, he didn't expect you to get tired. He thought your heart would keep showing up, no matter how inconsistent his effort was. But you're done explaining, done waiting, done pleading for something as basic as respect. And when you get to that place, not out of anger, but out of peace, it shakes everything. Because you're no longer moving from emotion, you're moving from wisdom, from growth, from boundaries. And nothing makes a man miss you more than realizing the woman he used to push away has now mastered the art of pulling back. When you no longer react, you give yourself something more valuable than a temporary emotional win. You give yourself freedom. You stop being a prisoner to what he does or doesn't do. You stop needing closure because you realize his behavior was your answer. You stop needing to be heard by someone who never truly listened. And you stop fighting for a seat at a table where you were already being served last. And here's what he starts to feel deep down. Regret. Maybe not immediately, maybe not openly, but he starts realizing that the emotional connection he used to take for granted is gone. He remembers how deeply you felt, how much you cared, and how fiercely you showed up. And now that you're no longer giving that energy, he realizes how valuable it was. Because no reaction means no access, and no access means no more emotional control. So let him sit with the silence. Let him wonder. Let him miss the fire you used to bring, the passion, the honesty, the effort. Let him feel what it's like when the woman who once gave her all now gives herself peace. That's the shift. That's when the missing really starts. Not when you walked away, but when you stopped looking back. Your power is in your peace. And nothing is more powerful than a woman who chooses herself, especially after giving someone else every chance to do better. When you stop reacting, you stop bleeding for someone who never brought you healing. And you finally start rising, quietly but fully. Men start missing you more when their life stays the same and yours starts to level up. In the beginning, it might seem like they're unbothered. They might even act like losing you didn't affect them. They carry on with their routine, hang out with the same people, scroll through social media like nothing's changed. Meanwhile, you're quiet, you're healing, you're rebuilding. But slowly, without forcing it, your life begins to grow in ways they never expected. And that's when it begins to sink in. They stayed the same, and you evolved. See, some men only understand your value when they realize how much better your life got without them in it. They expected you to fall apart. They expected you to stay stuck, maybe even waiting for them to come back around. But instead, you focused inward. You worked on your peace, your goals, your body, your mindset. You started walking differently, talking differently. You found your voice again, and the glow that came from that self-love. That's what they didn't expect. While he stayed in the same cycles, doing the same things with the same mindset, you started rising. And your rise wasn't for revenge. It wasn't to prove a point. It was because you finally realized you were pouring too much into someone who wasn't pouring back. You were giving everything to a relationship that left you empty. So you made a choice to pour into yourself. And that choice changed everything. He starts to see it from a distance. At first, it's small, a post here, a win there. Then it becomes undeniable. You're glowing, you're peaceful, you're moving with purpose. You're not just surviving without him, you're thriving. And now he's sitting there, watching your life evolve while it looks exactly the same. Same friends, same patterns, same mindset. He's still playing the same games, but now the game has changed because you're no longer in it. That's when the missing gets real. Not when you stop texting, not when you walked away, but when he realizes you were never the problem. You were the upgrade, the light, the one who brought growth and depth and vision. And now that you're applying all of that to your own life, he sees what he gave up, or worse, what he took for granted. Men feel that shift deep down. It's not just about seeing you look good. It's about seeing you look free. Free from the confusion, free from the inconsistency, free from waiting for someone to act right. And whether he says it out loud or not, that freedom bothers him because it reminds him of the version of you he didn't protect when he had the chance. And here's what's powerful. You didn't force any of this. You didn't chase, you didn't beg, you didn't try to win. The breakup, you just focused on becoming whole again. You did the work, you healed the wounds. You found yourself in the silence. And in doing that, you became the version of yourself that he was never ready to meet. But now, he can't stop thinking about. That's the moment he starts missing you. Not just the girl he left, but the woman you became. The one who doesn't tolerate bare minimum love. The one who isn't looking for external validation. The one who isn't waiting for his attention to feel valuable. He's missing a version of you that doesn't exist for him anymore, because that version grew past him. So let your life level up. Let your peace grow louder than your pain. Let your future become your focus. Because the best way to respond to someone who underestimated your worth is not through words or anger or revenge. It's through transformation. Let him watch you become everything he didn't protect. And let that be the lesson he carries while you continue to rise. And if he ever tries to come back, you'll know one thing for sure. He's not missing who you were. He's missing the version of you that outgrew him. And that version doesn't live in the past anymore. She's too busy building something better. Men start missing you more when they see you happy without them. Not pretending, not forcing it, not putting on a show for social media, but truly, honestly happy. The kind of happy that doesn't need attention, doesn't need revenge, and doesn't need validation. The kind of peace that only comes from healing, growth, and choosing yourself. See, most men expect you to struggle a little after they're gone. Whether they say it or not, they assume you'll miss them more than they miss you, that you'll call, that you'll break, that you'll eventually reach out just to feel some kind of connection again, especially if they were used to you always being the one to fix things, to apologize first, to hold the relationship together. So when you don't, when you step back, focus on you, and actually start living a full life without them, that's when reality hits. Because he thought you needed him to be happy, or at least part of him hoped you did. Not out of cruelty, but out of ego. His ego was comfortable knowing he was a part of your smile, your energy, your routine. But when he sees that smile come back without him, when he realizes your peace doesn't include him anymore, that's what starts messing with him. That's when the real missing begins. It starts subtly. Maybe he sees a photo of you out enjoying yourself. Maybe someone mentions your name and says, "She's doing great." Maybe he checks your page and you're glowing. And not the trying to make him jealous kind of glow, the effortless one, the type that comes from a woman who's finally sleeping well, eating well, laughing more, living in her truth. He notices you're not bitter, you're not broken, you're just good. And that's what he didn't expect. He thought you'd be waiting. He thought you'd be angry, maybe even lost. But instead, you're moving forward, and your joy is not only visible, it's authentic. And that's when he starts looking back. That's when he remembers the little things, the way you cared, the way you supported him, the way you brought peace into his life. And now that all of that is gone, he's stuck comparing the woman he had to the one he's now watching from a distance. What hurts him most isn't your absence, it's your joy, your peace, your independence. Because now he realizes something he was too blind to see before. You were never just a good woman, you were his safe place. You were his peace, his teammate, his emotional home. And now, someone else might be experiencing that version of you. Or maybe you're just giving it to yourself. Either way, he's no longer part of it. And that's when the weight of what he lost becomes clear. And let's be honest, this isn't about making him regret it. This isn't about trying to make him feel bad or win some unspoken competition. This is about you finally showing up for yourself. Because being happy after someone hurt you is not revenge. It's recovery. It's healing. It's proof that your joy was never built on someone else. That your smile was always yours, even if he forgot how to protect it. And the best part, you're not chasing anything anymore. You're not looking back. You're not checking to see if he's watching. You're simply living. You're surrounded by better energy, better people, and most importantly, a better version of you. One that no longer ties her self-worth to being chosen. One that no longer waits for someone to realize her value. One that has already moved forward with grace. So yes, he'll miss you. Not just because you're gone, but because you found joy he thought you couldn't have without him. Because the version of you he once knew is no longer accessible. Because he let go of a woman who didn't fall apart. When he did, she just rose up in full bloom and found happiness in herself. And that's what haunts him. Not the silence, not the distance, but the fact that you're actually okay, happier, lighter, freer, without him. And no matter what he does next, that image of you, smiling, whole, and gone, will stay with him. Because real happiness is louder than heartbreak. And yours just became the reminder of everything he couldn't hold on to.